The Chicago Bears are closing in on this can't miss prospect. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy here with Chicago Bears React, bringing you all the Chicago Bears news you're seeking out both during the season and now in the off season. Before we dive into today's story, please take a moment, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and make sure you don't miss anything we're going to be talking about over the next coming weeks. It's going to be a very exciting time, and the information is going to be coming out fast, and you won't want to be behind. So, for those of you who aren't aware, this week is Senior Bowl week down in Mobile, Alabama, and the Senior Bowl is an opportunity for some of the best prospects for the NFL draft to come and showcase their talents in a sort of all-star game. Now, it's hard to call it an all-star game in some ways because some of the premier positions, you're not going to see those kind of top end players there. You're not going to see a Marvin Harrison Jr. You're not going to see a Caleb Williams. You're not going to see, the people who have a lot to lose, I suppose would be the way to put it. And so either, somebody who has just doesn't want to get injured, or frankly, like they don't really have anything to gain in terms of tape. And so, you're talking about people who've already played against such great competition in something like the SEC that they don't really feel like they have anything to prove. But there's still really great talent. There's a lot of first and second round talent that's going to be there. And for those who track the draft as closely as I do, this is a great opportunity to see how some of these prospects from lesser conferences stack up when they face a steeper level of competition. And so it's a really great opportunity to really confirm whether what shows up on the tape is going to translate to the NFL or not. So why do I bring this up? Well, last year, the Chicago Bears drafted several players who participated in the Senior Bowl, including Darnell Wright and Tyreek Stevenson. Last year, Luke Getsy was one of the coaches for the Senior Bowl, and I think that paid big dividends, getting that kind of up close and person look at all these players. And so this year, the Bears don't have a head coach on either of the sidelines, but they have a couple of assistants. And in addition to that, they've sent a lot of people down there. And so here's a photo courtesy of Nicholas Moriano, who is one of the reporters from CHGO. And this, as you can kind of see here, there's a couple of different teams represented, but in this kind of back corner, that is about a dozen or so Chicago Bears scouts that are down there. Not insignificant. And if we go a little bit further and go look a little bit closer, you can kind of make out there's the two gentlemen right there in the middle. That's Ryan Poles on the right and his assistant GM Ian Cunningham on the left. One thing I want to quick note is that Ian Cunningham did not receive an offer to be the GM anywhere, and so he is staying in the Bears front office, which is a huge win. He's a big time player in the Chicago Bears draft room. He and Ryan Poles are very much in lockstep, and I think we should be excited that we at least get one more season of he and Jeff King as well in the Bears front office, helping to make this a better team. But we see here, we've got, it's not just all these scouts. You've got Ryan Poles, you've got Ian Cunningham. They're on the field. They're watching closely. And in fact, it's important to take a note of what they're watching because, as Nicholas points out here, that same spot that they were looking at, they're watching offensive line play. Ryan Poles is a former offensive lineman, and one of the things that I think a lot of Bears fans expect is that he's going to continue to find those best offensive linemen for the Chicago Bears. He found a gem in the 5th round in Braxton Jones. He looks like he found a stud right tackle in Darnell Wright, but there's still some work that has to be done on the interior, and from all accounts, it appears that the Chicago Bears are taking a very close look at one offensive lineman in particular, and that is Jackson Powers Johnson. It's a mouthful there, but Jackson Powers Johnson was the center for the University of Oregon this past year. If you followed any of the draft experts, they'll tell you there's really not a bad snap on his tape. He has been just an absolute stud out there in the Pac-12 on one of the best teams in the nation. And so right now he's competing against a lot of the other best players in the nation, and early reports out of the Senior Bowl practice are showing that he is just mauling people. So that's pretty interesting. That's something that you've got all of these Bears' eyes on. And as was noted in this tweet here, the offensive line coach for the national team, which Jackson Powers Johnson is on, is Bears tight end coach Jim Dray. And so this is one of a couple Bears coaches that's down there who's getting to get a sense for not just like what these guys look like on the field, but how do they adapt? What are they like in the huddle? What are they like in team meetings? These are such critical aspects, especially when you're talking about a center, a position that is one of the most mentally demanding positions on the football field. And so we've talked about this in the past. Your center is more than just somebody who has to block and snap. There's somebody who has to get the offensive line kind of lined up. They're the ones often calling out the different reads and audibles. There's a lot of responsibility pre-snap on the center. And this is just a great opportunity for one of the Bears coaches to try to get a sense for, is this something that he can even do? And so an interesting thing, though, about Jackson is that he is likely to go either at the end of the first round or at the beginning of the second round. And the Bears, as many people have pointed out, do not have a second-round pick. And so one thing that's been there's a couple different areas that have been speculated. For one, the Bears could be looking to trade Justin Fields and get into the front half of that second round. That's entirely possible. I think there's a couple teams who'd be interested in that. We've talked about the Raiders numerous times as a team that I think would be keen to add Justin Fields. But there's teams like Atlanta as well that are going to need a quarterback. And so, that's an avenue. I think one thing Bears fans also should probably start to brace themselves for is there is a better than decent chance that the Bears trade out of the number 9 pick. This would really fall in line with what we've seen from Ryan Poles time and time again. Ryan has shown a patient and methodical approach to team building, not just swinging big the way Ryan Pace would, giving up the farm to trade up and get Leonard Floyd or get what was that guy's name? Oh yeah, Mitch Trubisky. It's all right, Mitch. I don't fully blame you. But it's in line with Poles in comparison, especially to someone like Pace, to try to figure out how can I get a little more capital. And I think it does make sense, especially if, we talked about yesterday, there's good defensive end options. There's not a Myles Garrett coming, if that makes sense. There are going to be good wide receiver options, but you're not going to get one of the top 2 or 3 guys most likely with that number 9 pick. And so you're sitting in a spot where it's like, okay, do we take a solid player here because we have this number 9 pick, or do we kind of make a little bit of a stretch pick and take a stud player at a non-premium position, such as safety or center, guard, one of those? Or does it make more sense to trade back, get more capital, and get solid players at positions of need? And so center is one of the biggest ones the Bears have. I would say after quarterback, it is actually the most critical position. I know Bears fans want a wide receiver. I know it would be great to get a second pass rush threat. But center is of dire need. It's of critical importance. And whether it's Caleb or Justin Fields playing quarterback in the backfield, you have to have great interior protection to make sure that their first steps aren't immediately backwards. Get them, they need to be able to step up into the pocket. They need to be able to navigate that without immediately having to backtrack, and which is what happened a lot in that Green Bay game. We saw the center could not handle the pressure up the middle, and that was a problem. And so, it's going to be important we get a center. I personally would probably prefer to see a trade back. I would like to see a trade back and a trade of Justin Fields, frankly, to get another second-round pick. I think the Bears need a few swings in that late first to early second-round range. And so we'll talk more about some other options. And there's another coach that's currently down in Mobile, Alabama. That's Kenny Norton, who's helping to coach the defensive backs. And we'll get into that later this week because there's some interesting options there as well. But for the time being, let me know what you think. Do you think Jackson Powers-Johnson is the right option for the Bears at center? Do you think it's someone like Zach Frazier or the Barton kid from Duke, or would you prefer to see them bring in a veteran? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, bear down.